Look at the transgender situation. We live in a world now where everything has to be black and white. You're for us or you're against us. You're good or you're bad. You're black or you're white. When everything is a shade of grey. Everything, the truth is always somewhere in between the polarities. So if you look at the transgender thing, again, it comes under this heading of, if it's the agenda, you won't have the right for another opinion. Because if you're trying to sell the idea that there is no biological difference between men and women, well, you're on a loser, because you can't win that debate. But if you silence the opposition and you intimidate them into silence through abuse and all the rest of it that comes from that, then you don't have to win the debate. Of course, there is no debate, and your view will prevail, and we're seeing it prevail all the time. Now, this is the difference. If people feel that they're in the wrong body, that's none of my business. It's their business. And if they want to self-identify as a sex different to their body, good luck to you, mate. It's your right to do that, and B, it's none of my business. But that's not what it's about. That's the foot in the door. The foot in the door says we must not discriminate against transgender people. Okay, my hands go up. Absolutely agree with you. We shouldn't we discriminate against anybody? But that's when it starts, and then it starts to move. And now suddenly you can't say this, you can't say that, you can't have this opinion, you can't have that opinion. If you're a parent and you don't like what's being taught to your kids at school, then you're a bigot and you are a transphobic, and the whole thing expands from the initial we mustn't discriminate against transgender people. And now we have this situation now where if you argue against toilets for boys, girls, or anybody in a school, where the girls at the school are kind of intimidated and don't like it, well, you're kind of transphobic. Now, this is what happens when the agenda kicks in. And we won't have time to go into it now, but I go into it in the books, particularly my last book, about what this transgender agenda is really about. And it's absolutely nothing to do with stopping discrimination against transgender people. Nothing. There's a much longer goal.
Is any of this about that stuff, or is it just about the control and the ultimate limiting of information? And is it all about the same goal? About keeping us politically correct?
It's all about the same goal. But you know, if we have the time to go into the whole the technology agenda and the AI agenda, then maybe I could bring it in there. But the point being that when it's the agenda, everything gets ridden over roughshod. I'll give you an example. There was the feminist movement, and the feminist movement wanted more equality for women. Okay, my hands go up again. And not discriminating against women, my hands go up again. Yeah, I'm all with you. I think that has now gone the other way, where there's discrimination against men. I mean, we've gone past the balance point. But anyway, but so feminism was, if you like, the politically correct subject of the time. But now this other agenda's coming in, which is the transgender agenda, which is now usurping the feminist agenda. It means that if you're a feminist, this is now, you can see it widely, if you're a feminist and you don't, for instance, think that women's sport should be destroyed as a competition, and it is being increasingly, by people with male bodies that identify as women taking part in women's sport. I mean, who do they think is going to win the weightlifting? If women, as we've seen with people like Martina Navratilova, the tennis player, and others, If you then, as someone representing women, say this is destroying our sport, you are now a transphobic. You are now this and anist and whatever, because you're getting in the way of the agenda. It's nothing to do with what's right and what's fair and how it's affecting women and women's sport. It's nothing to do with young girls at school that feel uncomfortable with being in toilets with boys. Nothing to do with, for instance, some examples I put in my last book, in a hostel for women suffering domestic violence, are told that they have to share a room with a man because the man self-identifies with being a woman. And if they don't like it, well, they can leave. This is not about fairness. It's not about justice. It's not about inclusion. It's about exclusion on behalf of basically an agenda. We're going to make this happen. And although, we were supporting you before because that was the agenda then, you've been overridden by another area of the agenda now. So we're going to ride over you as well.
Okay, so it's another tool created to divide us, is what you're saying.
To divide us, and it's also deeper than that. And again, what happens is when you create manufactured discrimination, what gets lost? Real discrimination. Real discrimination against Jewish people. Real discrimination against transgender people, real discrimination against people on the grounds of color. That gets lost in the great tidal wave of manufactured discrimination.
Okay, which is also all happening online and on social platforms.
Because if you can persuade people they're discriminated against and they are victimized, you can get them into a situation where they feel offended by more and more things. You've got more and more excuses to censor. Everything is connected. It's a web where everything cause and affects everything else.